Good evening, everybody. I hope you're all well. I hope you're having a good day so far. I hope you're all enjoying your evening. We are back today with another live stream. As you can probably see by the title, we've got a new sort of live stream going today, a new sort of idea that I've thought of. So yeah, we're looking at something different today. We're going to dive into the debate very, very shortly. But as always, I hope everyone's doing well. I hope you're all doing well, having a good day. And as always, I appreciate your support. Please do get involved in the comments. Please do like if you do enjoy, and please do subscribe if you are new. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about David De Gea. As you know, there's been a lot of talk you've probably seen on Twitter, and a few different people you've probably seen do YouTube videos about David De Gea in terms of Ten Hag's system. So what we're going to do this evening is sort of dissect David De Gea, look at David De Gea's season last season, look at David De Gea's stats, look at the attributes he can offer, and we're going to sort of dissect and analyse whether Ten Hag will be able to sort of rejuvenate David De Gea. Will David De Gea be good enough, and will he be this overall goalkeeper? Are his attributes overall good enough for Erik Ten Hag's system? So that's what we're going to look at today. So as I said, please do get involved in the comments if you are watching right now. As I said, again, I've done a little bit of preparation for this, so we're going to look into that in a moment. So I'm going to get the slides up now. So I'm going to get those up now, and we will sort of get rolling when I've got these slides up. Okay, so I'm just going to get these up now. So I've done some preparation for this. So we're going to delve into David De Gea very, very shortly. So let me add this on. Okay, then. So player in focus today, David De Gea. So the idea of this sort of series is that every show, this isn't going to be every show, in terms of every show I do isn't going to be the player in focus, but I'm going to do this quite regularly, where I'm going to have a player in focus. I'm going to try and get round before the season starts. I'm going to try and do this on every sort of as many first team players as I can. We're going to do this today on David De Gea. So David De Gea is going to be the player in focus today. I think he's one of the players that sort of generates the most sort of maybe controversy, the most debate with Erik Ten Hag. I think there's a lot of people that are of the opinion that Erik Ten Hag maybe possibly won't use David De Gea. There's some people that think David De Gea will be able to develop into the sort of goalkeeper that Ten Hag wants. So what we're going to do is this is going to be part of sort of a series of episodes on different Manchester United players. We're going to look at them in depth. I've got a preparation of some slides here on David De Gea. And we're just going to have a look at David De Gea's stats from last season. And we're going to sort of make a judgment. I want you all to get involved in the comments. So if you are watching right now, please do get involved in the comments. Let me know what you think about David De Gea, his season last season. We're going to start talking about sort of how he got on last season in terms of the stats, in terms of what you thought from David De Gea. So that's what we're going to start with. So if we go to the first sort of page of the slide. So I've just got a few stats here from sort of last season. So that's what I'm going to sort of delve into now. So as I said, please do get involved in the comments. We're going to start now with these stats. So obviously, this is from the last 365 days. Okay, so pretty much covers the whole of the season in terms of the last year or so. We're not going to just base it off stats because I'm not that sort of person that just bases things solely off stats. I think it's also important to, use the eye test. What did you actually see? I think we can all agree that David De Gea got Manchester United out of trouble a lot of times in terms of his shot stopping last season. He made obviously some very, very good saves at times. I remember that game away at Norwich when we won 1-0 with Ronaldo's penalty goal. I think it was obviously during that game, Norwich had a lot of chances and we did get away with it. And David De Gea did make some very good saves in that game. So I think those who are watching, and please, if you are watching, please do like the video, please subscribe if you are new, and please do get involved in the comments as well. Let me know what you think of David De Gea last season. How do you think he got on out of 10? What would you rate David De Gea's sort of season last season out of 10? What would you rate it? So get involved in the comments. We'll have a bit of a debate about it. Get in the comments. Let me know what you think. But I think we would all agree that sort of David De Gea made some very good saves at times last season. But I think in terms of his overall game, coming for crosses, his distribution was very, very poor. And we can see that here in the stats. So if we obviously start with this is per 90, so this is per game here. Just a quick point on the percentile. So you'll see sort of a reddish color. Okay, you'll see sort of a grey color and a green color. So obviously green is the best. If you're in a higher percentile, if the number's higher, that means you're in sort of a top percent for that sort of category. If you're in a lower percentile, you're in a lower percentage, so you haven't performed as well at that particular statistic. So if we start with the goals against, obviously it's not good for David De Gea, but I don't think that is all down to him. I think we can all agree the way that Manchester United defended as a team last season was very, very poor. A lot of individual errors from defenders, I would say as well. A lack of sort of solidity in midfield, a lack of balance in midfield as well. Not good enough from the whole team. So I think that first statistic in terms of goals against, I do believe that is a lot of that is down to the way the team is performing as well. If we look at the save percentages, we're going to come across this a little bit more depth soon. And so I've got quite a few more slides to go through after this. But if we look at the save percentage for David De Gea, you can see it's sort of midway, so the 50th percentile. So that means he's sort of average. So he's in sort of the 50th percentile. He's sort of an average shot stopper among goalkeepers. And that might surprise you if you're watching right now. You're thinking, I thought David De Gea was a great shot stopper. Well, actually, he only saves 69.4% of the shots he sort of that come at him. And that's the 50th percentile. So that's maybe not as high as you thought. And that sort of shocked me a little bit. So we're going to compare that in a minute to the other goalkeepers in the league, some of the goalkeepers. So make sure you stay watching because there's some important comparisons to make. Obviously, when we look at stats in isolation like this, it's very, very difficult to make a judgment because we don't know exactly how other goalkeepers in the league got on. But we're going to look at that in a minute. Obviously, clean sheets, really, really poor. So what's that? So 0.2 per game. So what's that? Sort of every 5 games, Man United got a clean sheet, didn't we? If you sort of judge that into make it into a sort of statistic like that, so 1 in every 5 games on average. So it really wasn't a very good season for us. If you're conceding goals in 4 out of 5 games, and if you think about the games that we did concede goals in, a lot of them were against Manchester City. We conceded lots of goals. Liverpool, Leicester. We actually conceded 3 or 4 goals, or even 5, on quite a few occasions. But again, this is not solely down to David De Gea, so don't think I'm just blaming De Gea for this. This is for the whole team. Penalty kick saved. Obviously, it was actually a great sort of season for De Gea in terms of penalties saved. I think he obviously saved that one that sort of sticks out to me away at West Ham. Obviously, that was a big save at that time. Obviously, I think we were winning going into the last dying embers of the game. Mark Noble obviously missed a penalty. De Gea saved it. Obviously, he actually improved at saving penalties throughout the season. That's something he did okay. But yeah, overall for De Gea, in terms of the stats, a lot of those stats are down to team performance. So let's have a look at a little bit more developed now. So let's have a look a little bit more of a sort of individual stats here. So if you look at this here, so we start from the top. So again, let's have a look. So yeah, at the top again, it's not great at all. Sort of corner kick goals against. Obviously, we conceded. I think we did a little bit better from corners as the season went on, but we still did concede quite a few goals from set pieces. If you look, I'm going to look now at the passes completed. So if you look sort of the third section, passes completed, obviously very, very low there. So in the 8th percentile, the 14th percentile, if you can't quite see it, the 36th percentile. So very, very low in terms of passes attempted and completed. So this is an area I think we all agree David De Gea has got to improve on. So what we're looking at now, if you are watching and if you're joining new, we're just looking at De Gea's season from sort of last season's stats, and we're going to sort of bring that up to compare to other goalkeepers, and then we're going to make a judgment. So yeah, obviously very, very poor in terms of distribution, as we know with David De Gea. Passes attempted, generally, he's in the first percentile. So he's in the bottom 1% for passes attempted in a game. That is quite extraordinary for Manchester United's goalkeeper. It really, really is. We've got a message here from Tame Dave. Thanks a lot for joining, Tame Dave. So good evening, Chazza from India. Good evening. I hope you're doing well, mate. Pretty underwhelming season we had. Hopefully we'll improve under Ten Hag. We'll be following your series for sure. I appreciate that a lot, Tame. As I said, we're going to cover David De Gea today, and we're going to go through as many players as we can get through before the start of the season, sort of make a judgment. How did they do last season? What have they done in their whole Man United career? Do we think what they've done, their sort of body of work throughout the years, can Ten Hag work with that? So that's sort of what we're working with. But thanks a lot for joining in, Tame. Do let me know, Tame, what do you think of David De Gea? What did you think of David De Gea last season out of 10? What would you give him overall as a rating out of 10? So just, if you are watching right now, let me know what you thought of David De Gea last season. Interesting to know, because a lot of people have got different thoughts on this. Some people think he was one of our best players. Some people think he wasn't so good. His distribution, claiming crosses, he was really poor. So we're looking into that now. Again, launch percentage very, very low. So I remember from a lot of games actually, David De Gea's kicks, they are not the best at all. They're actually quite poor. A lot of them don't reach the target that he probably wants them to. So a lot of them do not reach the target, whether it be Ronaldo, whether it be Rashford, whether it be, Pogba when he was playing on the left, or in a slightly more advanced role, looking to obviously get a flick on. A lot of the launches that De Gea was doing were not good enough. This is one that really stands out for me. Well, actually, 2 bits here. If you look towards the bottom, crosses stopped in the second and third percentile there. Defensive actions outside the penalty area, really, really low. So by crosses stopped, we're on about crosses coming into the box. De Gea very often stays on his line, so he doesn't come and claim those crosses, and we saw that there. And also defensive actions outside the penalty area, we saw a lot with David De Gea. When maybe an opposition player is running in behind and he's coming in to score, David De Gea tends to stay very, very much in his penalty area, even on his line sometimes, rather than coming out and sweeping across. So what do you guys think watching? Does that surprise you? All those stats there, does any of that surprise you? For me, I think the biggest shock was probably this. The save percentage in terms of being in the 50th, so being sort of average at shot stopping last season. I thought he might have been higher for that amongst goalkeepers. But let me know what you guys actually thought, because I think it's quite interesting. The other stuff I'm not surprised about in terms of the claiming crosses, the passing, that doesn't surprise me. It's more surprising maybe he's not as good of as good as a shot stopper as I maybe thought. So that's the first 2 sort of slides. We'll go into the next slide now. So this is a sort of a graphic made by John Harrison. If you're not following him already, do follow him on Twitter, JHD Harrison1. Very, very good. He develops goalkeeping models and sort of gets sort of predicted goals, expected saves. So he uses these goalkeeper models. It's really, really impressive. So if you're not following John Harrison on Twitter, do that. And this is a graphic here that says that sort of shows us 1v1 performance for Premier League goalkeepers. And you can see one-on-one, David De Gea overall, he's faced obviously 38 1v1s last season. And overall, he saved us plus 0.3 goals from those one-on-ones. So it was very, very little, really. So very, very little. If you look at Edison, he saved 8 goals from one-on-ones compared to his expected saves. So that is quite remarkable. Really is quite remarkable. We've got another comment here just from Tan So 6 out of 10, just because he was making some ridiculous saves, you are right, but pretty bad when it comes to passing from the back, claiming crosses and free kicks. Lack proactiveness, if I want to generalize it. Yeah, you're spot on there, Tan Yeah, I fully agree with you. I think 6 out of 10 is quite a fair, sort of a fair rating. As I said on my channel, I don't mind if you can come across with whatever opinion you want, as long as you back it up. And to be honest with you, I do agree with you around that sort of 6 out of 10 area for David De Gea overall. But you can see here, if you look at the goalkeepers that we've sort of got, you look at Alisson and what he brings to Liverpool. I mean, almost twice as good one-on-one, almost twice as many goals saved as any other goalkeeper in the league from one-on-one shots. So this is really sort of the level that Manchester United need to be looking at. And I think also what we should sort of take in mind, if you look at if you look at David de Gea in terms of what we talk about one-on-one, we talk about David de Gea being a good shot stopper. This is something that David de Gea is supposed to be really, really strong at. And if you actually look at this graphic here, if you are joining, there's a few people watching right now. If you are just joining in, we're analysing David de Gea's performance from last season. So this is a graphic about 1v1 performance from John Harrison, who develops goalkeeper stats. And you can see David de Gea is sort of midway. So David de Gea doesn't really contribute that much one-on-one as a goalkeeper as maybe we thought, as maybe I thought before I did this sort of preparation. So please do let me know in the comments, guys. Please do get active in the comments. What did you think of De Gea last season? What would you rate him out of 10? We've got Tamme said 6 out of 10. What do you guys think? So yeah, this is an interesting sort of statistic. You look at the sort of, you look at what sort of what Alisson brings to Liverpool. And another interesting thing from this sort of this graphic, a lot of people consider Edison to be a very, very poor shot stopper. If you look at the difference between David de Gea and Edison, so David de Gea on average saves 0.3 goals one-on-one last season. Edison sort of let in sort of 0.5 goals than he would have expected to have saved, if that makes sense. So there's not even a goal difference between the two. So if you think about what Edison brings to Manchester City in terms of on the ball, in terms of sweeper keeper, in terms of defensive actions higher up the pitch, on and off the ball, David de Gea is only saving, he's not even saving one more shot one-on-one. He's not even saved one more goal sort of one-on-one compared to Edison. So this is really, really interesting. I think a lot of people, and I respect David de Gea a lot, I'm not slandering him. This is all just factual information. So as I said, we'll use the stats, we'll use the sort of eye test as well. He made some very, very good saves last season, De Gea. But if we look at this statistic and the ones I've shown previously, and there are a few people that have joined recently. So for those who have joined, I'm just going to show you these couple of graphics again. So this is the first graphic in terms of David de Gea's stats and the percentiles. Things to take away, look at the save percentage. He is average, 50th percentile. That means he's sort of in the middle amongst goalkeepers in Europe. I think they measure this on. I'm not fully sure on that, but it's amongst goalkeepers generally, so that's all that matters really. And he is amongst the average for save percentage. So I thought he would have been higher before I did this research, but no. So he's not actually as good as a shot stopper as we think he maybe was. And then another interesting sort of few stats to bring up. Crosses stopped very, very low at the bottom. If you look towards the bottom, crosses stopped very low. Defensive actions outside the penalty area, very low. So he doesn't claim crosses very well, and he doesn't sweep very well. So they're just a few things just to note so far. Also, his distribution, passes attempted are very, very low. So what is important as well to think about here is not just sort of the stats. Oh, he's poor at this, he's poor at that. What's his role been at Manchester United? We know for the Manchester United managers that have played, that have been managing for, as sort of post-Fergie, Louis van Gaal did play more of a possession-based system. But if you think about Jose Mourinho, you think about Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, you think about Ralf Rangnick, De Gea hasn't been in a good Manchester United team. He's been in a team that's been sort of fractured to some extent, a team that he hasn't had this role as a ball-playing goalkeeper. So I think it is important to understand that De Gea's stats are probably slightly underestimated. I think under Ten Hag, if Ten Hag came in and decided he wanted to keep David De Gea's stats would probably improve slightly because he would be more involved in the play. He could improve maybe slightly, but I've got doubts whether David De Gea could transform. I don't think he can transform into this completely new goalkeeper. So let me know what you guys think. From what we've seen so far, we've seen he isn't that much of a good shot stopper as we maybe thought. He doesn't claim crosses very well. He's not involved outside the penalty area in terms of defending, sort of sweeping for Manchester United and sort of stopping counter attacks. And his one-on-one, he isn't actually that good. So what do you guys think? Do you think he could improve for Ten Hag? Do you think he could become Ten Hag's number one goalkeeper for the future? Don't worry, we're going to go through some more stats now. So if you're still unsure, we're going to compare for some more goalkeepers now. We're going to do some comparisons now. So this is another graphic for David De Gea. So this is another data and modelling from John Harrison. So please, he hasn't. I haven't been in contact with John Harrison. I'm just saying this guy is fantastic for analysis. So I follow him. He creates goalkeeper models. He sort of does a sort of expected goals, total goals stopped. He makes goalkeeping models and makes data on it. So if you're interested in data like that, please do get involved. So we've got here David De Gea's overall value in goals was +3, more or less. You know, so on average, David De Gea saved Man United three more goals than he lost us, or that he let in, basically. So total goals stopped. So we've got 10 goals on average he stopped, and then he didn't do so well in goals prevented and goals distributed. You know, so if we think about sort of preventing goals through cross-claiming, through ball sweeping, shot handling, he was negative for us. If we look at goals distributed, so sort of contributing to the build-up and attacking play, he was also negative for us. But overall, David De Gea we have to say, he didn't have a terrible season overall because of what he did bring in terms of the overall value in goals that he did contribute. So again, this is something just to be careful with the statistics. So just because, just because he's not as good as a shot stopper as we maybe thought, he still did contribute for Manchester United. And as Tanmay commented earlier, this is just an earlier comment from Tanmay, he was making some ridiculous saves at times. He was. So that's certainly correct. So there's 5 people watching right now, guys. So please do get involved in the comments. So there's 6 people now. I want you to get involved in the comments. Please let me know. What did you think of David De Gea last season? What would you rate him out of 10? And please do smash a like on the video, guys. And please do subscribe if you are new. So here's David De Gea. This is an important one. Okay, so this is probably one of the most important graphics that I've got. So this is save percentage. So this is the amount of saves. So this is his save percentage, okay? So compared to other goalkeepers in the league, 12th. Okay, so you might think he's a great shot stopper, 12th on average in the league. Okay, Jose Sarr for Wolves is top of it. You've got Alisson up there. You've even got Edison ahead of David De Gea. Okay, so I think this dispels a couple of myths that Edison is a terrible shot stopper and David De Gea is a great shot stopper. This dispels some of those myths. As I said, I've got no agenda against David De Gea or for David De Gea. I'm just bringing some stats, and then after we've gone through the stats, we're going to sort of break it down and we're going to make a judgment. So Jose says, thanks for joining, Jose. So all things considered, he was a 7 out of 10. Results could have been more embarrassing if it weren't for him. You're totally right. You are right. I also think, though, this is because of the way we play. The way we play means that we concede more shots. So the way we played recently in the last few months and years, we concede more shots. So that's where a sort of goalkeeper like David De Gea does benefit Manchester United. Because if you are conceding more shots, gone by down the years, David De Gea has been one of the best shot stoppers. We can see here from this season that actually, overall, David De Gea was not one of the best shot stoppers in the league. But if we look in the past, we can certainly say that. And as Tanmay said earlier, he did make some ridiculous saves at times, but also he did let a few poor goals in. So I think it's just sort of getting that balance overall. So this does show the save percentage overall. One thing to note is there's some people that sort of the smart people among us, and I'm sure there's a lot of smart people watching. You will think, well, did Jose Sarr, is he the highest goalkeeper in terms of save percentage because he just didn't receive many shots? And you know, if you didn't receive many shots, you got more of a chance of set. You know what I mean? So, what about in terms of the whole variance? How many shots did they receive in total? Well, actually, I've had a look through this data, and there isn't sort of I don't think there's too much bias in the data in terms of the difference between the saves, the shots they sort of received in general. So this is quite an accurate piece of data. So I think it's just important. Is the data skewed? I don't think it is. I think this is very, very accurate from FBref. So this is quite concerning because a lot of us, and I have regarded it in the past, and I'll admit I regarded David De Gea as still a very good shot stopper, but this doesn't sort of back that up. So I think that's a key point to take away from this. This statistic here, again from FBref, involves sweeping actions. Okay, so on the left, you've got the distance from goal of the defensive actions. And so on the vertical axis, you've got the distance from goal defensive actions. On the horizontal axis, you've got defensive actions outside the penalty area. So the more you are to the top right, the better. Okay, the more you are to the top right, the better. So you can see in the top right, you've got Nick Pope and Alisson. you can see David De Gea is sort of a little bit higher for the average distance from the goal in terms of the defensive actions, but he is quite really, really low in terms of the defensive actions outside the penalty area. Okay, so we're talking about David De Gea. He is not a sweeper keeper. This sort of backs that up. Okay, so you can see you've got goalkeepers like Emiliano Martinez at Villa, Guaita at Palace. You've got Robert Sanchez at Brighton, Ben Foster even at Watford are looking like more sweeper keepers than David De Gea. So some goalkeepers from teams that are mid-table or even in the relegation zone have got even more well-rounded goalkeepers last season than we had. So really, really sort of disappointing in terms of David De Gea, in terms of his sweeping. I think this is something we can all agree in terms of it's just not good enough. It really, really isn't. Tammy, so David Batman links are concerned. Yes, certainly. I think Eric Ten Hag actually wanted Batman, though. I think in 2020 it was. So I think Ten Hag's actually been chasing Batman for a while. We're going to just talk quickly as well about the other Ajax goalkeepers they've got at the moment and the sort of the role of the goalkeeper under Ten Hag. We're going to talk about that in a moment. Okay, so firstly, we're just going to summarise David De Gea from last season, and then we'll look at Bachmann. But yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed in terms of the whole transfer window. So obviously, I think a lot of people are quite disappointed. So we'll discuss that in a moment. This is distribution. Let me just go back. So this is distribution performance. Okay, launch passes, clip passes. The more you see that box sort of at the very, very top of the diagram. That box there, so that's highlighted. That box contains goalkeepers like Neuer, Edison. Okay. If you look at the sort of the very, very bottom where David De Gea is, you can see David De Gea is literally worse than Tim Krul, who's at Norwich. So in terms of passes, distribution, it's obviously very, very poor. Sacred Beat, so 7 out of 10 for the season. He's done so much for us in the past, but we'd need to move on. I agree. Had we better centre-backs to mask his weaknesses, then the latter part of his United career would be so tainted. Yeah, correct. I think that's also an important point that Sacred Beats makes there about protection from centre-backs. So in terms of David De Gea, we know he's going to stay on his line a lot. We know he's not going to contribute to build up that much. But if you look at the season we've had, the centre-halves, the injuries we've had, you could make a claim that the centre-halves in front of him haven't been stable. Varane's been injured a lot. Maguire's made a lot of mistakes. Lindelof's not been great. The full-backs have been poor. We've had a lot of injuries. No defensive midfield player. Yeah, we can make a case for that. But I do agree with I think the first sentence that you say, Sacred Beats, makes a lot of sense. He's done so much for us in the past, but we would need to move him on. I do agree. So this is in terms of distribution, in terms of passing. You can see David De Gea is literally right at the bottom. And then this last graphic just talks about the role of the goalkeeper at Liverpool, Manchester City and Manchester United. You can see the pink dot at the bottom of Liverpool, at the bottom of Manchester City, and compare the size of that dot to the Manchester United dot that you might not even be able to see on the right-hand side graphic. So the bigger the dot, the sort of bigger part that player plays in sort of the passing links between players. So you can see there sort of Liverpool and Manchester City, Edison and Alisson, big contribution to build up to the passing play, that sort of the way that Manchester City and Liverpool want to play. David De Gea, you can see, plays a very, 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 very small part in that. Okay, so they're the graphics, and they're the graphics that I sort of drew together. If there's, again, get in the comments if there's anything you want to see again or anything you're not sure on, do let me know. Okay, but I'm going to stop sharing that now, and I'm just going to go back to my the full screen sort of talking. So that was sort of the roundup of David De Gea last season. So I think we can all agree he made some good saves at times that kept us in games. But you have to say, I think overall with David De Gea, a lot of the things are concerning. I think if we talk about what Ten Hag wants from a goalkeeper, if you look at goalkeepers like Onana, I think Pass Via he's used this season because of Onana's been banned. I think he had some sort of I think he said some sort of drug case or something going on. If we look at the sort of David De Gea compared to those goalkeepers, if you actually look at goalkeepers like Pass Via at Ajax, they're not the best goalkeepers on the ball, and they're not goalkeepers that claim a high percentage of crosses compared to sort of maybe an Alisson or other goalkeepers in the league. I just think with David De Gea, I think if you look at um, sort of the contract situation, it is going to be hard to get rid of David Gea. If Ten Hag does want to sell him, he's on ridiculously high wages. He's getting into he's obviously into his 30s. Who is going to take him? I think that's the first sort of concerning thing. I think in terms of whether he could work under Ten Hag, I think Ten Hag could use him, but I don't think he would be the optimum goalkeeper for Ten Hag for his second season. I think for this upcoming season, I think we can all agree Ten Hag is going to use David De Gea because Dean Henderson's going to Forest on loan. We might get a backup goalkeeper through Backman, as Tanmay referred to earlier. But I think we can all agree David De Gea is going to be the number one for next season. Whether we sort of like it or not, whether you think he should be or not, he is going to be the number one for next season. I think it's in terms of the second and third seasons, will Ten Hag use David De Gea? I think that's the sort of big question. For me, I think David De Gea needs to be replaced after one season. I really do. I think no matter sort of what you think in terms of what Ten Hag's used in the past, I think in terms of you think about the Premier League compared to the Eredivisie, I think it is slightly different. You think about the quality of teams that you're going to get, it will get harder. Ten Hag's not going to come in and play the same sort of difficulty as opponents as he did in the past. It is going to be a bit tougher, the opposition. And we know in the Premier League, that's sort of, and around the world really, but particularly in the Premier League in terms of the technical nature of goalkeepers, that is the way the game's moving. You know, I think a goalkeeper who is okay at shot stopping and is decent on the ball is valued more nowadays than a goalkeeper that is poor on the ball and a fantastic shot stopper. And I think that is sort of the way that Ten Hag will go. So I think in terms of, for me, I would like to see a replacement come in. In terms of people might be thinking, well, what sort of replacement would we get? That's what a question that might be on your lips. So I'm going to just go back here to look at the graphics, because this is something you might find interesting. So you'll see, if you look at the top of the graphic, you'll see the little AC Milan badge. So you'll see Mike Maignan in the top part of the graphic, just to the left of Manuel Neuer and to the left of Edison, and just underneath Samir Handanovic, you'll see Mike Maignan. So he would be my choice to take. I know he's very unlikely at this moment in time, but I think he's a top goalkeeper, Mike Maignan. On the ball, shot stopping, he's decent. I think he could be a fantastic goalkeeper to bring in. We've also got, if we look at this graphic, there's a couple more goalkeepers that are very, very highly rated in the Premier League. So you've got in this graphic, you've got David Raya. So if you look sort of halfway to the right, just below Jose Sarr, David Raya, so plays for Brentford. Again, a very, very well-rounded goalkeeper. His distribution, his range is very good. And you've also got Robert Sanchez. So if you look to the right of David De Gea, the darker blue dot, Robert Sanchez. He's another goalkeeper from Brighton. I think Maignan would be my first choice, and then Raya and Sanchez are good options if Manchester United are to look in the transfer market anytime soon for a goalkeeper. But for me, this is not something to be concerned with this summer, simply because if we think about the way that De Gea's sort of the contract that De Gea's got, if we look at the other positions we need to improve, I would stick with De Gea for this season. But I do think within the next sort of next summer, we will have to address this position. So let me know, guys. Those who are watching, please do like, please subscribe, please get in the comments. Let me know what you think. Please let me know what you think. Tanmay, I thought Ten Hag would keep Dino because he was linked with Ajax last year, especially with all this numbers from David De Gea. It'd be interesting next season if he'll be an option again to replace David De Gea. Yeah, I do agree, Tanmay. I thought Dean Henderson would be favoured. I do think, though, Dean Henderson had already got one foot out the door. I think in terms of, we've heard about the leaks. I think there's been a lot of sort of leaks that he has been one of the player that may be leaking information. I think there's been a few reports and a few worries that there's been players sort of that the ones that have been leaking the information have been the ones that are not happy with playing time. And I think he is a possible candidate. I'm not saying he is a leak for sure, but I think he is one of the ones that have been rumoured about. And I do agree. I thought that I think if he would have been playing under Ollie and Ranić, I think he would have been favoured. I think it was almost a decision out of Ten Hag's hands, personally. I think Dean Henderson was just fed up and he wanted to go. But yeah, as I said, let's see. I think Dean Henderson in the past has shown when he has played. If you look at the fixtures that we played under Ollie when Henderson played, away at West Ham, away at Manchester City, we did play very, very well. I know it's a small sample size. I think we need to see a bigger sample size to make a judgment, but he did contribute to the team to build up. His shot stopping, I think a lot of people remember the mistakes he made at home to Liverpool, and rightly so. He was very, very poor. But I do think in a lot of games that Dean Henderson did start for Manchester United, I think he did pretty well. And I think he did. I think our centre backs looked a bit more assured. So let's see. My personal opinion, I haven't seen enough of Dean Henderson. I think sample size needs to get bigger to really make a judgment. To really make a judgment in terms of will he be Manchester United's number one? For me, we do need a new goalkeeper, I think. But Dean Henderson, let's see. Let's see what he can do. See if he can replace David De Gea. And again, in terms of David De Gea, I think a lot of people sort of get mixed up between criticising a player and giving abuse to a player. I will never give abuse to a player. I'm not going to go out shouting F off and all this to players. I think in terms of David De Gea, for me, I think he's a legend of the club in terms of what he's produced for the club. In terms of when we were playing poorly, when he won the Player of the Season consistently, he was playing in front, sort of behind Smalling and Jones in the real tough times after Fergie. David De Gea did a lot for Manchester United. However, I do think in certain games, in finals, in semi-finals, sort of nowadays, I do think David De Gea has cost Manchester United a few times as well. And that, of course, that's going to happen. But I do think the way that Manchester United have played in recent years has meant we need a good shot stopper. It's not necessarily good when your goalkeeper is Player of the Season. That is a problem, I think. I think people in the comments, people watching right now will agree. I know Liverpool, Edison has been incredible this season. Incredible. I don't actually know who got Player of the Season for Liverpool. But normally when your goalkeeper is playing exceptionally well and gets Player of the Season, that's not a good sign. Because you're, as a team, you're conceding too many shots maybe, and the goalkeeper, has been made to look fantastic because he's made lots of saves. I think that's what has suited De Gea for Manchester United. I think Manchester United need to move away from this and move towards a more ball-playing goalkeeper for Ten Hag. Adrian, hey lad, hey mate, I hope you're doing well. Thanks for coming along. As I said, I always appreciate the support, everyone coming along. I always appreciate that. So please do get in the comments, let me know what you think about David De Gea. I think I've made my judgment pretty clear. For me, I think it is time to move on next summer from David De Gea. But of course, it's Erik ten Hag's decision. If he thinks he can work with David De Gea, let's give him a chance. But I think a lot of the times, if you watch clips back of his distribution, it's really poor. It really is at times. There's a few clips where, and I think it's quite comical, where he can either pass it to Maguire or kick it out for a throw. And he's looked at Maguire and said, "Oh, it's Maguire there," and he's ended up kicking it out into the into the stands. Really, it's quite comical. But yeah, for me, I think distribution wise, I think if you think about Ten Hag's build up, the goalkeeper needs to be comfortable in possession. The goalkeeper you very often see with Ten Hag when Ajax are building up, the goalkeeper is an extra man in build up. You can outnumber the opposition. So, for example, if the opposition are playing a front two, you can have your two centre halves sort of split and your goalkeeper. So you've got 3 against 2 in build up. So you can get round the opposition press. So I think that is what Ten Hag sort of does quite often with his goalkeeper. If you're playing against the front 3, you can obviously have 3 centre halves in build up, and you can have your goalkeeper behind, and you've got a 4v3. So you can get out of that sticky situation. You can sort of get by the opposition press using your goalkeeper as sort of an outlet, whether that be you've obviously got a long kick, or whether the goalkeeper is going to dribble the ball a little bit higher, or whether the goalkeeper is going to do a smart turn and go past not go past player, but you know what I mean, that sort of do a Cruyff turn, just knock the player out so the player goes the wrong way, and that opens up a passing lane. So I think in terms of build-up, we do require soon a better goalkeeper for me. Hi, Rich. I hope you're doing well, mates. As I think we've had a conversation before about coming on your channel again, I certainly will get involved. I will let you know when I can come on again for sure. And do subscribe, by the way, to Rich Sports. Really good content over there. Lots of different fans from different clubs, so you get a good wide variety of sort of content there. And Rich says, David De Gea is no sweeper keeper. Not sure he'll ever become one. Yeah. that's the thing, Rich. I think with a goalkeeper, particularly, I think it's very, very hard to instill something different into a goalkeeper. We can talk about attacking players. I believe attacking players are the I think wide players we've seen particularly in the way that Liverpool's forwards sort of have changed from where they've come from to Liverpool. You look at the way that they've changed. You look at Manchester City, a player like Raheem Sterling, how he's changed and how he's been developed at Manchester City. I think it is easier to develop attacking players who have got. You've got to have that technical ability. You've got to have the fundamentals, and then you can be developed. I think David De Gea, for me, this is my personal opinion. As I said, if you think otherwise, do get in the comments. We can have a debate about it. It's great to have different opinions. But for me, David De Gea, I don't think he can sort of vastly change or transform under Ten Hag. He might slightly improve. As I said, those statistics will probably improve under Ten Hag because we'll probably have more possession. De Gea will almost be forced into sort of being more part of the build-up. He's going to have to be forced. Ten Hag's going to have to try and get him involved. If he's so uncomfortable and it doesn't work, he will probably be sold, and that's fair enough. That's what needs to happen. Whoever doesn't fit into Ten Hag's philosophy and style and system needs to be sold. It's as simple as that. If David De Gea shocks us all, which I think is quite unlikely, and becomes a real vital part of Eric Ten Hag's team in terms of sweeping, in terms of dealing with counter-attacks, sort of defending outside his penalty box, as we saw earlier, he's very, very low in that sort of category. And sort of being part of build-up, that's fantastic. It's proved us wrong. But I think from what we've seen this season, from what we've seen in David De Gea's whole career, and what we're seeing sort of with the decline, I would say, in terms of the save percentage from David De Gea, which has got worse, I think, as he has sort of got later on in his career, we can say that his shot stopping is becoming less of an asset. And I think his lack of ball playing ability, his lack of sweeper ability is causing Manchester United more problems. And I think when that's happening, you will only see sort of the statistics getting worse. And I do worry in that sort of sense with a goalkeeper. And I think, let me know, guys, in the comments who you think could be a good replacement for David De Gea. I've talked about Mike Maignan, I've talked about Robert Sanchez, David Raya. Is there any goalkeeper out there in the world that you like, that you see it's sort of on your sort of research or just watching football generally? I think there was a bit of a talk about a Spanish goalkeeper. He might have been a Valencia goalkeeper. I think a youth, sort of a very young goalkeeper that was talked about as well. But if there's any goalkeepers you guys think should replace David De Gea, let me know. Let me know. It's good to sort of talk about sort of scouting research. If you guys have done any sort of research or if you've watched football a lot, if there's anything that sort of you think, do let me know. Aditya, hello Charlie. Hi Aditya, I hope you're doing well, mate. Thanks again for coming along. I think every Man United fan will not tolerate when the Glazers take 11 million this week. Yeah, that's something you've mentioned. It's quite sensible there. On Friday, the Glazers will take 11 million in dividends. A lot of people have thought, will the Glazers announce, or will Manchester United announce sort of a pre-agreement or something like that for signing a player, just to take a bit of sort of spice away, or a bit of sort of touch away from that sort of news. We'll see. I'm, as everyone is, we are all fed up with this transfer window, and we're fed up of Manchester United sort of the Glazers taking dividends out of the club. Do remember that Manchester United are around 15 million away from Barcelona's valuation for Frenkie de Jong. Basically, the money that the Glazers are taking out of the club in dividends on Friday is the money that could have been used to solve the Frenkie de Jong deal. So I think that is something that really, really hits hard, hits home for Manchester United fans. Adrian, Donnarumma would be good. Yeah, I think Donnarumma, yes. However, if you remember, I don't know whether you watched the Real Madrid PSG game. I think Donnarumma was very, very poor in that game. And that's just one game, I know. I think Donnarumma is a good goalkeeper overall. I think he showed that in the Euros. The penalty saves against England in the final. I think he was very, very good in the Euros overall. That just sticks out at me, though, that one game where he's very, very poor. But I think, yeah, overall a good goalkeeper. But I don't think he's going to be leaving PSG anytime soon, personally. I don't think he'll be leaving at all. GG, thanks for coming along, GG. A real good supporter of mine. De Gea will obviously adapt by being higher in his starting position, but I don't think he'll ever be able to improve to warrant staying in future years. Yeah, I'm of the same opinion. I think he will. I think he can only get better under Ten Hag in terms of improving on the things he's been poor at. But I don't think he will ever get to the stage that maybe Ten Hag will want, or Manchester United fans will want, or Manchester United need. This top Alisson sort of. Alisson for me is the best goalkeeper in the league, maybe even in the world. You could argue. I know Courtois gets a lot of shots, but in terms of overall, in terms of all the attributes mixed together, I think Alisson is one of the best in the world, if not the best. And I think will De Gea ever be able to adapt? I do have my doubts, and I do agree with you, Gigi, there. Tanmay, like Meslier, but again, more of a shot stopper. Don't know if Ten Hag would want that type of keeper, but a ridiculous shot stopper and young. Yeah, Meslier. I think Meslier is also he's okay at ball playing as well. Obviously at Leeds, they do obviously under Bielsa. They did play this system where they very rarely sort of knocked a long ball forward. They wanted to keep the ball on the floor, and it did start from Meslier. You know, Meslier was involved in a lot of build-up at Leeds. He was quite good on the ball. Obviously, he made the odd few mistakes I remember against Arsenal in particular. But yeah, I think Meslier is a good option, but I'm not sure that he will he'll be coming to Manchester United from Leeds personally. But yeah, I think Meslier is okay. I think he's okay, Meslier, overall. Aditya, Meret. I haven't seen anything of Meret, actually. Meret from Napoli is an underrated goalkeeper in relation to distribution. Interesting. I haven't seen anything of Meret. Personally, David Raya is the one that I've seen from Brentford in terms of distribution. I remember when Brentford were playing, I think it was Spurs at home, and it might have been David Raya that game. I think it was incredible distribution. It was almost like an outfield player. Think about Edison and what he brings to City. Almost an outfield player. And I think that's what you've got to think of. You're thinking now, I've read a lot of football books in the past. I'm reading one now. It talks about the transition from football, sort of from the 80s, the 90s through to what it is now. You used to have 10 outfield players and a goalkeeper. Now you've got 11 outfield players. And I think that's what sort of football is transitioning to nowadays, 11 outfield players. You obviously have to have a goalkeeper that you know, they've got to be some sort of shot stopper. You're going to have to face some shots at some point. But some sort of teams, some systems, you look at the way that Liverpool play. Liverpool are going to obviously concede chances on the counter attack, but think about how many chances or shots that Alisson stops, not through saving a shot, but actually through stopping the ball getting to his area. So if that makes sense, so the ball goes past Alexander-Arnold, past Van Dijk, through ball, through in behind. How many times does Alisson come off his line and stop the shot even being made? So I think that's something to think about as well, that maybe isn't included when we talk about these statistics in terms of shot stopping save percentages. If you actually look at goalkeepers like Alisson, their save, the goals that they've saved, the save percentages, it's actually lower than it should be, if that makes sense. That save percentage is correct in terms of the shots they save, in terms of with their hands, with their feet. But how many shots do they actually prevent? How many shots do they prevent by being proactive and sweeping? So I think that's something to really, something to note. And Gigi says here about Alisson, decision-making and also, closing strikers down, incredible. And you think about the frame of Alisson as well. His frame is so big. And I think that is also so important. You make another comment. Robert Sanchez, I agree. Robert Sanchez, for me, is a good option for Brighton. I think he's, again, pretty decent on the ball. Obviously, Graham Potter's way of playing there requires that. And also a good shot stopper. Robert Sanchez is a good goalkeeper. And Alcan, thanks for coming along, mate. You are the young Mark Goldbridge. Yeah, I've had this quite a few times, Mark Goldbridge. On a show before, actually, I got compared to Mark Goldbridge, and he did like it. So I think he is aware that I do look a little bit like him. But, it is what it is. Fair enough. I look like Mark Goldbridge. I got compared to Ed Sheeran as well, and Frankie de Jong have been compared to. So I don't know which one's the best, to be honest with you. But thanks a lot, Alcan. I appreciate coming along. It just cheered me up. It's quite good fun when you get these lookalike comparisons. So any other comments, guys? Do get your comments in. As I said, I think I've sort of covered what I want to cover from my side. I always like the last few minutes of a show to be sort of a Q&A. sort of a Q&A if you want to ask me any questions about anything. Oh, just a quick point actually about, so there's quite a few people watching now, so I just wanted to make this point about this series. So what we're going to do with this series is we're not going to do it every day, but we're probably going to do at least one episode a week. Every week, every episode, we're going to focus on a different player and what Ten Hag might do with them, or what future they might have under Ten Hag. So we've done David De Gea today. I want to cover, because Dean Henderson's going out on loan, we're not going to cover Dean Henderson. We're not going to cover Dean Henderson. So I want you guys to let me know a defender. I want to cover a defender. So let me know right now in the comments for the next episode, which will probably be, whether it be at the end of the week this week or whether it be next week, which defender do you want me to cover that we've got currently under Ten Hag, the player in focus? Who do you want me to cover? So please, guys, do let me know. Who do you want me to cover next? I will, whichever one's most popular, I will cover. Aditya here. Edison was breached when it comes to 1v1. Remember Son Heung-min scoring against him for the past 2 seasons? Yeah. I understand what you're saying in terms of there are instances where you will lose out one-on-one. There are instances where you will lose out. But if I show you this, and I'll show you this now, just because I've got this up here. Look at this. So the point you've made using the eye test is great, Aditya. Yeah. So you've used the eye test. You've said, you know, when it comes to 1v1, he does get beat sometimes. But look at Alisson. He is first in the league for 1v1. He saved 8 more shots than he was expected to 1v1 this season. So that tells you sometimes when we make these judgments by the eye test, we've got to be careful. Sometimes we need to look in the stats, do the stats back at the eye test. And here, Aditya, the comment you've made in terms of the eye test, no. In terms of overall, no, that's not correct in terms of 1v1. So we just need to be careful. That's just the point I want to make. You do have to back these things up. And yeah, GG makes a great point. I think Ten Hag will, though, instantly this will improve within the first few weeks. Okay, so build-up structure in possession. This will improve. Frankie de Jong signing him will improve it as well. I think we've got enough ball-playing sense. I think in terms of the centre-backs, I think we need to sign another centre-back. If we can persuade Timber, whether we can sign Lisandro Martinez or even Pau Torres, forget about their other attributes. In terms of ball-playing, build-up, they will be good. They will be good for us. So very, very important. Build-up structure. I do agree. Whichever keeper you bring in, the whole team has got to be a unit, and the whole team has got to sort of get on with Ten Hag's plan and ideas. But I think this will improve. Okay, we've got a shout for Eric Bailly. We've got a shout for Diogo Dallo. We've got a shout for Luke Shaw. Any other shouts, guys? I need a winner. So I need one player to get more sort of votes than the other. So I'm going to cover a player in focus next time in terms of what they could offer for Ten Hag. And I'm going to cover a defender. So you need to let me know a Manchester United defender right now. There's 8 people watching. So there's only been a few guys that have commented which player they want to see. So please, everyone who's watching right now, which player do you want to see me cover next time? Which defender do you want me to see cover next time? It's got to be a defender for Manchester United. Thanks a lot, Mo. Thanks for coming along. I appreciate it. No worries, Aditya. As I said, I don't mind opinions. You can bring your opinions across whenever. It's just important, I think, to look at the stats as well. Mo, I can't see David staying longer than this season. Not too long. Not sure how long he's got left on his contract. Well, there have been talks about a new contract, which I think is really, really not sort of. I don't think that's right at all. Getting a new contract in for De Gea, and I'm not quite sure about that at all. But I think you are right. I think we're going to see David De Gea when he does go. He's going to go on a free, like Pogba, like Lingard, like Matic. All of these players going on a free. It's very, very disappointing, really, the amount of money we've lost through the way that we've signed maybe the wrong sort of players, sort of the wrong sort of combinations of players, and we've actually made a loss. So really, really poor. Aditya Maguire, okay. Dallo, oh, we've got lots of Dallo shouts. Dallo, how long has this channel been running? Oh, well, I started it sort of, I think it was in autumn. 2021, but I've only just started uploading recently, Alcan. So if you don't know me, I'm also on Twitter, and I will show you this here. So I'm also on Twitter as well. There at Threadman Chazza on Twitter. So if you don't follow me there, please do follow me. I make a lot of comments on Twitter. I'm waiting for a signing to be made, or that isn't Frankie de Jong, or some sort of concrete link, because I've already done an analysis on Frankie de Jong. I'm waiting for some sort of signing to be made so I can do some analysis on another player on Twitter. So do follow me if you want to see that. Dalot. Okay, Dalot. Yeah, okay, Dalot then. So Dalot will be the next player. It looks like Dalot is sort of the overriding winner there. So I will look at Dalot next. I have done a thread on Ten Hag already, and I did cover Dalot in that thread. And I said that I think Dalot will be used by Ten Hag. So I'm quite optimistic for Dalot under Ten Hag. I think he's the best right back we've got. However, I don't think he's actually incredible, but I do think he is the best right back we've got at the moment. I know that's not much competition compared to Wan-Bissaka. I don't personally rate Wan-Bissaka much at all. I don't rate Dalot particularly incredibly highly, but I do think he will be used by Ten Hag. I think he could be a useful player in terms of squad player under Ten Hag. GG, yeah, this is the best sort of summary. David De Gea has served United well overall. He has, but I think Manchester United always let go of players too late. That will be my judgment. In terms of Rashford and Martial as well, if we were a ruthless club, you'd look at Rashford and Martial right now and you'd think, I know Ten Hag fancies Rashford in terms of, it looks like he wants to work with Rashford. But if you look at what Rashford and Martial are given Man United, if we were on about winning titles, you could make a case of selling, sort of getting rid of the both of them, really. See, if you look at what's happened to them. But Manchester United won't do that. Martial looks like he'll probably stay. Rashford will probably stay. So I think one point is, GG, you are right. De Gea served Man United well. But we always hang on to players too long. You look at what happened with Lingard. He should have gone last summer. Matic, although I rated Matic a lot, he didn't suit Ollie's system. He didn't suit Ranieri's system. What was the plan with Matic? You look at players. You look at players that shouldn't have even been signed. Really, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka. You look at Pellistri and Ahmad. Were they necessary? So I think the whole recruitment process, we can question a lot of it. Mo, so the fat wages we've given players over the years. Again, this is another great point. Even if teams can match transfer fees, they can't match wages at all. Exactly. Yeah. So other than your PSG. You look at Barcelona, the state there at the moment. The only team in the world, other than Premier League teams, maybe Real Madrid possibly as well, but PSG are probably the only team in the world that, I know Barcelona have given out sort of massive wages, and that's why they're in this problem at the moment in terms of economic situation. But if we're looking to sell a player with huge wages, there's not many clubs in the world that will take them. So I think you are right, mate. You're spot on there. And yeah, if you're on about Dalot, fantastic progressor Dalot, but in the final third, his output's been really, really poor. So we're actually going to cover that next time. Okay, so we are going to cover Dalot next time in terms of what future he has under Ten Hag. And again, by the way, guys, I think one thing just to sort of mention, thanks to everybody who's watching right now. Please do like the video if you haven't already. Please do like and support the channel. Please do subscribe if you are new. But I just want to make a point on sort of this whole series. We're going to look at players in focus. We're going to analyze what they did last season and think about where they could fit in under Ten Hag. We are all, well, most of us are fans. There might be some football coaches in the chat. Some of you might coach or manage a team, but we are not geniuses. We are not sort of genies that are going to make every prediction correct. All we can do is use what evidence we've got and make a judgment, and that's all we're doing. So what we might have said today about De Gea, I don't think he'll personally last under Ten Hag. I might be completely wrong. That might come back to bite me. That's fine. That's what football's all about opinions. So guys, don't be afraid to voice your opinions. If you think it's unpopular, I don't care. This is a place for unpopular opinions. If you've got an unpopular opinion, you can put it in the chat. I'm not going to go crazy at you. I'm just going to, if there are some stats that go against it, I will say, well, actually, you've got to look at these stats. But don't be afraid to voice your opinions here, guys. You can always do that here. And thanks a lot, Adrian, mate. Thanks for coming along. Aditya, PSG looking to offload Neymar. Manchester United will shamelessly buy him to prove to fans they are a big club. Yeah, I think Neymar. Neymar is it's really, really strange what happens to Neymar. What's sort of happened to Neymar, going sort of a backward step from Barcelona to PSG. I think that was really. I think money talks, doesn't it? You see what happens with Mbappe as well, rejecting Real Madrid, staying at PSG, getting $1 million a week. I think he is. It's crazy, and I think money has sort of ruined football to an extent. There's a lot of players that are just happy to sort of live off money. They're not. Have they got the passion? Have they got the passion to sort of fulfill their potential? Have they got that determination to fulfill their potential, or are they just interested in earning a bit of money? And I think that's the way to end it on, really, in terms of football. There are a lot of sort of examples of teams that have created fantastic sort of systems. You look at Pep and Klopp. I know there are rivals. I don't like to praise them, but we sort of have to praise them. There's players in there that will be on pretty high wages, but those players play football as if their life depends on it. You know, they play football as if their life depends on it. Manchester United players have shown this season they're not really interested. A lot of them have really not shown much even interest in playing. A lot of them have pretended they're injured or, you know, sort of didn't want to play, wanted to go out on loan. A lot of them haven't been bothered to play for Manchester United. So I think Ten Hag does need to address not just the quality of our players, signing quality players, bring players into Manchester United that actually want to develop. You know, bring players in that actually want to develop and be part of sort of Eric Ten Hag's project. And I don't want to use the word project. I'm not on about it being a 10-year project and we have to wait 10 years for a trophy. I'm on just about his project. What does he want to do? I'm more demanding in terms of I want to see a trophy quite early on if we can under Eric Ten Hag. I'm not going to call him out if we don't, but I do think Eric Ten Hag needs to be backed by the fan base and by the board. But also, I've got high expectations for Eric Ten Hag. I really have, and I hope he does fulfill them. Jose, also analytics. Thanks a lot, mate. As I said, this is the first episode, so obviously I'm just sort of getting used to what people like, what people didn't like. Let me know, guys, what you thought. There's still a few people watching. Let me know what you thought of this episode. If you didn't catch the first bit, or if you're watching later on, do go back into sort of the first half an hour of the video, because that's when I brought in some graphics. So there's some graphics with data and stats in. Okay, so do go back to that part of the video if you want to see the sort of data and stats. In the last part of the video, we've had more of a conversation with the live chat, which I always love to do, getting people involved. But if you do want to look at the sort of stats side of things, the analytics, the comparisons with other keepers, do go back to the earlier part of the video. Aditya, yeah, no legs to match the intensity. Yeah, I think that's a big point. I think we've got players who people regard as, or people did regard that played in the past as not consistent and lazier. I'm talking about Pogba, and I don't think Pogba is lazy personally, but a lot of people think he's lazy. He doesn't seem bothered. A lot of people think that, and you can think that. And then we've got players that have got less quality than Pogba, McTominay and Fred, but offer more in terms of work rate and, you know, tenacity. And I think that is a good point that Aditya makes. Liverpool and Manchester City players have not just got the tenacity, the work rate side of things, the commitment for the cause. They've also got quality. And I think Manchester United, we've got some players that have got maybe the quality side of things. Have they got the consistency, the mentality? We've got the other side that are not the most sort of quality players, but they are very tenacious. They've got the commitment. We need both of those factors. And I think that's what Ten Hag will hopefully bring. If you look at him as a person, Eric Ten Hag, a clever, smart, tactical person, and a man who's worked really, really hard throughout his career to get to Manchester United. If you look at his development, he started sort of, you talk about the Bayern Munich, sort of the second side. You know, I think he managed, I think he was Utrecht as well, and he's obviously gone to Ajax and now to Manchester United. We need his mentality to spread across to the players, and I think that's what we're looking to see. Tame, thanks a lot, mate. I really appreciate it. Please do come along again. As I said, the next one's going to be on Diogo Dalot, so we're going to be focusing on Diogo Dalot next time. Mo, yeah, we need young players who are reaching their peak, looking for the next level, still be able to make a profit on one selling. Yeah, I think we're looking at those sort of 20. I'm not going to put in it. As I said on the last show, I'm not bothered about age, but obviously, if you can sign players that are between sort of 22 and 26 or 27, that sort of range, you are right. You can get a few years out of them, success, and then you do have that resale value as well to operate well as a business. Alkan, thank you very much. I really appreciate that, Alkan. I really appreciate you subscribing. Thanks a lot for coming along. Mo, in regards to our game intensity, do you not think that the club needs to up the nutrition and fitness training? Yeah, yeah. I've watched. If you didn't, I think the Spurs documentary under Jose Mourinho, All or Nothing, the Amazon documentary. You look at the way that sort of Jose Mourinho in that documentary talks to his players, and I think a lot of the things in terms of nutrition, fitness. We see things about managers banning tomato ketchup and desserts and things like this. It is quite interesting. These things that we don't often think about. Also, things like fitness team, physios. We look at things like this. If we do look at things like this, which are very often sort of talked about more, it's talked about the tactics and what about the things behind the scenes that we don't see on the pitch. Keeping these players in check. I'm going to use Luke Shaw, and I think Luke Shaw has got a very, very high skill set, but I think we all struggle with the mentality of Luke Shaw. I think a lot of us, the consistency of Luke Shaw. And I think a lot of people have had a go at Luke Shaw sort of for his weight and things like this. And obviously it's difficult to talk about those things because people have different body weights and body masses. And obviously it's different for everyone. But I think a lot of people we've talked about Luke Shaw in the past, and you look at the mentality of these players. You talk about that sort of the life outside football. What are they outside football? Are they keeping themselves busy in the right sort of instances? Are they eating the right things, drinking the right things? And I think this is a great point from in terms of nutrition. And I think that is something that Manchester United may have fallen behind on over the years. So yeah, great point. Right, guys. I think I'm going to call it a day in terms of this stream. Thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. Please do remember the next episode, Player in Focus. I'm going to do this series on as many Manchester United players as I can before the start of the season. The next episode is going to be on Diogo Dalot, a really interesting one, Diogo Dalot. I'm hoping to get that out within the next week or so. So I will let you know. Do follow me here on Twitter. If you want to just keep known about the updates, I'm going to produce some analysis on our new signings when we get hopefully some signings. Do follow me on Twitter at ThreadmanChazza if you want to know when I'm going to go live on YouTube and what I'm saying, because I do post a lot of updates on there. Next show, Diogo Dalot, we're going to talk about his progression. Is he good enough in terms of his technicals? Is he good enough defensively, one-on-one? His aerial ability, how that might help Ten Hag during build-up, sort of overlapping a possible new right winger in Anthony. These sort of things we'll talk about. And we've got another comment here from Aditya. Please make a detailed analysis in the future relating to our current academy players. Yeah, that's a good idea. I will have a look at that, Aditya. Okay, so I will have a look at that in the future. But please, guys, please like the video right now before the end of the stream. It really, really helps us out as a channel. Please do like and subscribe if you are new. I appreciate Alkan, who has subscribed today, and Tanmay. I think I haven't seen you before today. You're going to interact more. I really appreciate that. The people that are more regulars, you talk about Aditya, Mo, Jose, Adrian, Gigi, anybody else I have forgotten from the live chat. Rich, thanks a lot for coming along. Sacred Beats, I don't think I've seen your name before. I may have done actually, I think once in the past. So thanks a lot for coming along again. But thanks a lot, everybody. I really appreciate it. Please do like, please subscribe. And I will be back very, very soon in the next few days, hopefully, with some more exciting transfer news. And within the next week, we'll be back with a Diogo Dalot player in focus. Will Diogo Dalot be revitalised? Is Diogo Dalot a starting right back in the future under Ten Hag? Thanks a lot, everybody, for watching. Have a good evening, and I'll see you later.